In August of 2018, we called Reverend Sarah as our developmental minister for what is a 5-year term. And we are evaluating when we did that, we set developmental goals. And so at the halfway mark, we went through 2 services, both looking back and looking forward through our developmental ministry. And Beth, you can move to the next. So we are halfway, roughly, through our developmental ministry, and we did small group conversations, which many of you participated in, and many people took notes and submitted them, and I've gone through those summaries and summarized. So each line item in all of this has untold paragraphs behind it. Many people participated in this, and none of these have names attached. And sometimes they're contradictory. Different people have different perspectives that aren't all the same. So this is just a snapshot of what we've received. Next. Oh, sorry, Beth. I guess I went through that one in there too. Go ahead and do next. So looking back, we talked about a trusting culture, and overall the conclusion was that we have a respectful community. It's strong and getting stronger and leads to trust. For hospitality, we received a lot of praise for the membership committee. For leadership, we saw a lot of questions, a lot of flagging as needing work, mostly on understanding what leadership was, who were the leaders, and what did they really do. The UU identity is well communicated within the church. And there were a lot of thoughts and feelings on social justice. It received a lot of praise and a lot of questions, looking for ways to be more involved, looking for more focus. Next. So looking back at trusting culture, the overall opinion was that our community has a very strong, respectful culture, and it's getting stronger. We received praise for the Healthy Congregation Committee, but some people who requested clarity as to what it was and what it does. We received a lot of praise for Reverend Sarah's leadership, and some comments about things we have learned. We've learned to avoid triangulation. There's been a distinct lack of drama and discord within the greater congregation. And we received a suggestion for integrity talks to continue prevention from drama and discord. Next. Oh, that's the same one. Next. There we go. Leadership was consistently flagged as needing work, and generally speaking, it was, who are the leaders? What do they do? We don't really know what to say about who is leaders. So that's more of a communication than any complaint about particular leadership. I have a question that says, what does avoid triangulation mean? And that means, like, if I were to go to Susan, I'll use that name, we've got a lot of those, to complain about Beth instead of going directly to Beth if we had an issue between the two of us. So triangulation is pulling in a third party to more vent than connect and solve a problem. Next. The Unitarian Universalist identity seems to be well communicated, which needs to be and is an ongoing thing we're doing. There was plenty of praise for sermons and other services, and praise for religious education as communicating our UU identity for our youth. There is kind of the ongoing Unitarian Universalist question about spiritual exclusivity and if we are or aren't using God or Christian language, which I think is something that everyone has their own opinions on. Some people want to see more of it, some people want to see less of it. Next. Looking back at social justice, there were a lot of requests for middle of the road ways to be involved, somewhere in between showing up at Saturday demonstrations and, quote, just caring. There was a lot of praise for the Black Lives Matter demonstrations and for the sanctuary effort and for religious exploration. There was also a lot of requests for more focus, suggestions like an annual theme to focus on, because we all care about so many things, but we become spread too thin with too many causes. So the suggestion to focus. Next. Communication is an ongoing theme here of people want more communication, not just Facebook, not just Beacon Bits, questions about where is the information and how do we know what's going on. There was some comments about microaggression for people of color, which is something that we want to work on, that with communication, and communication where we want to be sure that we're inviting people to participate in a variety of things, that people feel invited and welcomed and not shamed or discouraged because of what they aren't doing. Next. Looking forward and building our new normal, because goodness, this halfway year has been an unusual one. Next. Talking about pandemic versus our old normal. These are some things that people said they missed. Coffee hour and casual conversations, performing and watching live music, the children, the building, being together. Next. Things that we want to keep from this year of differences. We want to keep virtual options for live streaming the service and for recordings of music and so on, as we have on our YouTube channel right now. There were also several people who said they wanted to keep virtual committee meetings, that those have been convenient. Next. Talking about the pandemic versus the old normal. Some people felt like we were too comfortable and content with Zoom and needed to step out. There was the transition, questions about the in-between time and how will we transition to in-person, which is an ongoing conversation, which we'll hear more about in the next. Well, Jerry will talk more about that as we move to our new normal. Next. As a compassionate community, we got good marks on we do well with compassion and the need to be intentional about staying in touch, that's something we've done well with. Some getting to know you, the connections group and lunch bunch and newcomer meet and greets are good ways to build a compassionate community. I read a lot of different groups that talked about the concern of small groups becoming cliquish, who is and isn't in them. And that's kind of the toggle with small groups. You want to feel like you belong and have your own place, but we want to feel like everyone is welcome to join those small groups. And the call to do better at supporting community members with various needs like meals and rides. Next. Talking about the search for truth, things that help in search for truth, book clubs, small groups, adult forum, meditation, hearing others' experiences, and using the UU principles as guidance. Sermons, the spiritual message from the pulpit is good. There was also a call for, this is one of our contradictions. We got several comments about the spiritual message from the pulpit being good and some comments that it's too spiritual and we'd like to see it be more intellectual. And some calls for more guest speakers from within the congregation. And then a comment about small groups where we need more engagement of people joining small groups, because sometimes they are offered and not enough people sign up for them to actually take place. Next. Courageous action. Support from within the community helps us participate in courageous action. It gives us courage for many actions and to push out of our comfort zone as individuals and as a group. There's the question of how can we have more dialogue with people with different worldviews and not just within our own congregation? How can we be better known in the community? And a desire to have our church leadership and Reverend Sarah be more known within the community for social justice. Things we're doing are causes we could support: Arts in Action, Millben, the Women's Shelter, the Montgomery County Food Bank, and with Food on the First, Tamina Interfaith. There's a request for more focus on topics. So again, the idea of an annual focus topic or something along those lines. And seeking ways, some ways we have to be involved are letter or postcard writing, attending rallies, marches, and talks, self-study, adult forum, book studies, and discussions. Next. In summary, Northwoods at its best is community and having fun together and jumping in to respond to needs, choosing to be part of the solution. It's welcoming, non-judgmental, and a safe space with more diversity and the needs, and it meets the needs of both introverts and extroverts. Next, I think that's the last, isn't it, Beth?
Yeah, it's the last.
Great. So we will be continuing to reflect on where we stand within our developmental ministry and potentially setting new goals for the end of the second half of our developmental ministry as we move forward.